You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious about business.
Crime, corruption, and criminal justice. AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, is shining a light on these topics here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in a luncheon that's looking at how these affect Jamaica's trade and investment potential. I'm Elon Parkinson. Let's take a look at the highlights.
One of the things that I realize is that having these forums, it provides us with an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. And all members should give your organization a round of applause. Put your hands together for it. For weeks, I was talking about business unusual. For weeks, that was the last one on the economy that you guys had. And I was in cocktail conversation sounding smarter than I am just by virtue of having been in the room. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. I'm going to apologize for the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. He did intend to be here, but he was called at the last minute to Parliament. I believe he has a parliamentary committee that he must be at, so they've summoned him. The numbers are important in these committees to make quorum and to participate in discussions at Gordon House, so he won't be with us today. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, is here. Thank you very much for being here with us today, as is Dirk Harrison, the acting head of the Corruption Prosecution Division at the Integrity Commission. Always glad to have Professor Anthony Clayton, a respected criminologist, here with us today. Jason Fraser is the country rep of the USAID. Thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing their presentations later today. At this time, I'm going to invite Alison Peart, the president of AmCham of Jamaica, to give the official welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, we look so officious and so quiet. It's very, very important business, but I'm hoping today you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to leave here understanding more about some of the issues and, more importantly, with some solutions. Because it's one thing to speak about our issues, but if we don't find a solution, we're just a talk shop. And I love Nationwide on the radio, but we don't just want to talk. We want to come up with some solutions. So as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Jamaica, we thought it very important. We talk about how wonderful the economy was. Our last session was business unusual. But if we have crime issues, if people Jamaicans don't feel comfortable going about their daily lives, if our foreign investors don't feel comfortable, if our children, who are our future, have issues, where are we as a nation? So we thought it very important to bring together a panel that would engage in the dialogue about crime, corruption, criminal justice. How does it affect our trade and investment? Because it makes no sense to talk about our GDP growing or our debt to GDP if we're dying. It makes no sense if our future is tied to crime. So this dialogue is very, 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 very important, and I'm very happy you're here with us.
Okay, the question today is how much crime and corruption and a dysfunctional justice system are actually inhibiting the development of Jamaica and inward investment. Because we don't just have one problem, we have quite a complex array of problems. And it's quite hard to know how much we should attribute to any one of these and how much any one of these is contributing to what has historically been a very low rate of growth and significant difficulties in attracting inward investment and retaining domestic capital and retaining human capital. These are the headline ones. We have one of the highest rates of violence in the world. We have a large number, a significant number Of gangs, about 80% of our homicide are gang-related. The rest are primarily domestic violence. So the fact that we have a large number of gangs is clearly a major factor in maintaining one of the world's highest levels of homicide. There are fundamental challenges still in our system of governance. As I'll be going on to say in a few minutes, we have people in public life who help to create this problem with gangs and high levels of violence, and that link has never been yet severed, and that is still a challenge that we have yet to face. What, of course, that does is it undermines the moral authority of government. If you have a situation where all the bad guys are out there and everybody in government is honest and competent, it's not really very difficult to deal with the problems of crime. The problem is when the boundaries between the two are blurred, and when you have criminals who are getting high-level political protection. At that point, it's much, much harder to deal with the issues. Of course, what that feeds is a culture of cynicism, low trust, and that has a great deal to do with sustaining a high level of violence. In any country where you see that people do not trust the police and do not trust the justice system, they're much more likely to have recourse to violence to solve their issues and disputes. So it's partly reflecting the fact that we've still got deep weaknesses in our system of governance. But let's put this in a little context. There's only one demographic for whom violence is the leading cause of premature morbidity, which is young males, late teens, early 20s. For every other demographic, it's actually cheeseburgers that are more likely to kill you. We've got issues with, like every other country, with steeply rising rates of non-communicable diseases. And we can't also forget the fact that we have perennial challenges with energy security, increasingly with water security, which is related, because years ago we made the decision that everybody must be on a piped water supply, which means that we're now committed to a program of pumping water up hillsides, which means that if our energy system goes down, our water system goes down too. In hindsight, perhaps that wasn't a very good decision. So we've got issues with energy, water security, and more generally food and access to resources. We live in a seismically active part of the world. We live in the hurricane belt. There's challenges with emerging exotic diseases, and of course we've got a background issue really serious now, as people have started to realize with climate change. You may have heard that this summer is the hottest ever recorded in Jamaica's history. And in fact, there's now real grounds for concern that we've gone past an irrevocable point, and that we will not ever revert back to the low temperatures of the past. So this is something that we may now have to make a permanent adjustment to.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show, and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
One of our highest priorities of the U.S. government in Jamaica is to work with our counterparts to interdict Jamaican and Caribbean-based transnational criminal activity, including narcotics and arms trafficking, trafficking in persons, and financial fraud targeting U.S. citizens. The U.S. government has also invested heavily in supporting anti-corruption initiatives with the civil society and Jamaican government, as well as supported improvements in the justice system. In total, the U.S. government invests about $12 million in security-related programming annually, which does not include all the various partnerships and collaborations that our various U.S. government agencies have with their counterparts. In fact, USAID Jamaica just advertised a broad agency announcement to co-design our flagship community violence prevention activity with key stakeholders such as the government, academia, and private sector. This unique co-creation approach encourages key stakeholders to co-create and deliver the services that are vital to prevent youth crime and violence at the community level. Law enforcement and criminal justice are important to controlling crime, as we all know, and corruption. But we also have to address the underlying social challenges that both cause and contribute to crime. Within the broad range of U.S. cooperation on crime, and this is where USAID comes in, we partner with the government and civil society on a range of programs to address the root causes of crime in Jamaica. So in the area of community safety and security, and building upon past successes with community-based policing, USAID focuses on the strengthening of community-based and civil society organizations, the promotion of community-driven activities, the development of long-term champions of a culture of lawfulness, and the enhancement of ministries, departments, and agencies of the state to be more community-oriented institutions. In this way, we believe that we contribute to building safer communities, strengthening social cohesion, and improving civic engagement participation. USAID also works with holistic youth-friendly approaches that aims to assist at-risk youth in becoming active citizens through the engagement of different social, educational, behavioral, and recreational activities. This approach includes three main areas regarding youth involved in criminality: prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation, including diversion activities as alternatives to traditional incarceration for first-time offenders. Youth also develop skills through educational programs which introduce them to fundamental concepts in business, economics, individual accountability, and entrepreneurship. USAID expects that life skills and technical training will increase opportunities for at-risk youth to work within the legitimate economy, thereby reducing the likelihood of involvement in gang and criminal activity. In Jamaica, relationships with key public sector, private sector, and donor agency partners are being leveraged to create programs to build skills and to identify work options for youth. USAID also works in the youth remandee centers, which includes case management follow-up to facilitate at-risk youth acquiring job and education opportunities when they are released. In the area of corruption, the Combating Corruption in Jamaica project has not only built public demand for more effective action against corruption through awareness campaigns, but has also provided training to government and civil society partners to build capacity and increase advocacy. The project is expected to have an impact on the nation's capacity and the ability to effectively control instances of and attitudes towards corruption in general and political corruption in particular. So what's the role of the private sector in addressing the root causes? That's why we're all here today. Many of you are representing private sector organizations. How can the private sector be a key partner in addressing some of these root causes? Obviously, many of you are part of the community, and so you have an interest. Your companies are often affected by the high rates of crime and corruption. So it's important that government, international partners who support government, NGOs, and the private sector work together to address these issues. We've all been to various forums on issues surrounding crime in Jamaica. I think the private sector here needs to continue to ask itself what it is doing to address the issue. Clearly, advocacy is important to press for resources, accountability, and support in combating crime. But there's much more that can be done to invest in communities to make them safer and create opportunities for the next generation to be prosperous. Looking ahead, we welcome the opportunity to increase our engagement with the private sector on these challenges because of the energy and innovation that they typically bring to the table. USAID is a learning agency, and we are constantly exploring how to improve our work and increase our impact. So as we streamline our programs and look for new strategic partners, we invite the private sector to partner with us as we both work towards the common goal of helping Jamaicans thrive.
There's this sense of a godlike syndrome that during some transactions an oversight body must lap its tail or virtually hold its corner in the name of investment. There are different roles for each stakeholder. Each must stay in their lane and accept criticism when constructively made. On the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, potential investors, in fact, should be happy that the business environment observes the rule of law and that democracy flourishes with built-in checks and balances. If I were an investor about to enter Jamaica, it's incumbent on me and my handlers to look out for red flags and indicators of the environment. I name a few on a list that is not exhaustive. 1, determine the role of the oversight body. It must be effective, efficient, fearless, and it must be respected. What, if any, comment does the oversight body have to say on a process or an investment opportunity that you wish to enter? The engagement, ladies and gentlemen, of investors and investor confidence, existing and thriving, must be viewed on a virtual 2-lane highway. That is a 2-way street with rules and guidelines being applicable. 2, does the police service support and protect local and non-Jamaican community members? Do they communicate with all persons? Are they accessible at all times? Maintain a presence that the visitor or citizen believes and recognizes that if they do wrong, they'll be detected. But lines of communication must always be in place. For too long in this blessed country, the notion exists that unless someone knows you and you not knowing them, nothing will happen. That needs to end. In a time of real emergency, the joke is told, unless you have on speed dial a member of the police force, the response time to a complaint is sometimes unacceptable. Another thing that I would think an investor would look for, there must be a criminal justice system that is efficient and effective, and we must congratulate the learned Chief Justice for the renaissance and the role of the DPP's office in the renaissance that is taking place now. But we must also have financial services, a banking system, healthcare facilities. They must be adequate, to name a few components. Importantly, ladies and gentlemen, on Jamaica's stock exchange record, Michael Reagan, writing in Bloomberg Business Week, January 18, 2019, states the Jamaican stock exchange is the world's best performing. Its outperformance over the past 5 years is even more striking. Jamaica's stocks have surged almost 300%, more than quadrupling the next best performing national benchmark and septupling the S&P Standard & Poor's 500 advance. I make bold to say that the very important successes must be highlighted, with all the negatives on crime and violence reported in the last 48 hours in Jamaica. Also, the awards in the tourism sector must also be celebrated. However, we must do better. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the solutions? Government agencies must work together all the time and set aside jealousies and petty matters which have no place in a professional setting. Interagency cooperation and collaboration must be emphasized and practiced. We must build bridges and stop tearing down, emasculating, and ridiculing persons. The fact that you do not agree is no reason to disrespect. Professionalism is non-negotiable. We must have a review of the timelines to review governance structures. Oftentimes, pieces of legislation give you 3 years to review a legislation. You see in 1 year, nothing is happening. The parliamentary caucus needs to do something about that. We must enhance whistleblowing regimes and encourage the discourse, changing the discourse to, in my words, inform or for live. Stop saying inform or for dead. Inform or for live. I must admit, I'm an informer. I'm a proud one. I'm an informer. Tell me something today, I'm going to tell the police tomorrow. We need to modernize the law enforcement units and bring outstanding laws into operation. We need public education to sensitize the world that the perception of corruption or actual is not a reflection of the overwhelming majority of law-abiding Jamaicans. We need to ensure that the police and our oversight bodies work to regain public trust. The police must maintain presence, not just in hotspots, but also generally. It will help to rebuild issues of insecurity. I pause here as I listen to Professor Clayton. In the last month, I visited Cayman. The police carry no guns. A year before, I went to Turks and Caicos. The police had no guns. I visited Grenada a few times. The police had no guns. They have their problems, but I felt safe. I am walking in this, my beloved country, and we're turning and looking behind us every minute. But our Caribbean neighbors, and Professor Clayton showed us the figures, I feel safe. We need to look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I reiterate that the government of Jamaica, the ministries, the departments, the statutory bodies, to name a few, must work united to create that package, that which is seen by the outside world, with all the various components and elements that they look at, and which they consider, and which will have the effect to harness growth and encourage investor confidence. But most importantly, we must leave our partners with the belief that integrity is non-negotiable. Honesty is paramount, not by word of mouth, but by our actions. And despite our problems, crime and corruption, that they can and humbly should consider investing in our country to bring about change for good. Acknowledging that the improvement of the basic standards of life may have the effect of changing behavior, but I readily admit we can't legislate for good behavior.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, highlighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
In respect of what it takes to inspire confidence, I'm a plain speaker, and I will say, I believe that what is happening in our country, education is the key. I believe that a lot of our children, some of those who come from environments where they are victims of poor and dysfunctional parenting, we need to reintroduce civics in all its forms back within the schools, from the time of the basic school, because there are a lot of our children. People complain that, okay, are the schools not doing enough? But they may go to school, the teachers try their best, and they go back into an environment that is like a black hole of nothingness, because there's no value system, no values, positive values and attitudes. And yet if you take that child and you put that child in another environment, you have intervention, positive intervention, you would be surprised to see the beautiful diamond coming from the rough. So I'm really a big believer in education. Now, another pet peeve of mine is that, and I prosecute police officers, I do not subscribe to the throwing the baby with the bathwater approach. Everybody knows their functions best. But I am not a public official who believes, unless it is necessary in the interest of justice, to make gratuitous comments in terms of seeking to tear down my colleagues, anywhere. And I am not into using speculation to put out there to join the call for crucify him, crucify her in the public domain, where you have the court of public opinion demanding, just like the little old ladies who were knitting at the time in the Tale of Two Cities and saying for the noblemen, chop off their heads. I am not into that. At the Director of Public Prosecution's Office, we deal with two things: the law and evidence. Personal emotion, personalities, we are not into it. So even if the court of public opinion or any other opinion would like to see the guillotined head of an individual on a platter, if there is no evidence to prosecute, to mount a viable prosecution, then as a matter of law, we have to say so. And I will say, and it's the first time I'm saying it publicly, first time, and I say it with the greatest of respect, that this is why on occasion, when I've been asked privately, I have registered privately a concern when you have no firewall between agencies that both investigate and prosecute. Because if you are not careful, you run away in the court of public opinion, and the court of law has to catch up. And by the time it gets to court, after a lot of reputational damage has been done, when you look at it, and the defense counsel gets up and says, they are putting the prosecution in limine to prove what is there. The judge asks, and when you pare away what is there, there's nothing there as a matter of law. So sometimes in the court of public opinion, the members of the public would want to see one thing, but both the police and I know that in the court of law, it's either you have to have cogent, credible, reliable, admissible evidence. If you don't have it, then no matter how egregious the conduct of an individual is, then you don't have a case. Then you have to look at the second layer in terms of governance and accountability. And this is where public opinion, civil society can force the government of the day to make sure that all the particular oversight agencies, that they have teeth, that they are well structured, and that the will, the political will is there to make sure that the teeth are not rickety in the oversight agencies, but they can stand up. In other words, if you put a piece of cane in the mouth of the teeth of that oversight agency, the teeth won't come out. It is the cane that will suffer damage.
Riveting perspectives and indeed sobering statistics coming from the AmCham empaneled team here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
We all can agree, education, whether through our skills, talents, or knowledge, is an important tool for driving economic growth and development. On today's program, we'll be visiting some educational institutions to see just how our nation, through the work of our nation's youth, will become the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and, as the Prime Minister adds, retire in paradise. Hi, I'm Theodore Henry. Welcome to another episode of your Jamaica Magazine. There's so much planned for you today, but first, let's catch up on the latest stories making the news. It's the 9th staging of the JIS Heritage Competition, and this year we're talking slavery and reparation. Entries are now open, so listen up.
Primary and prep school students, this is what you should do. Imagine that you are one of the 7 national heroes. Make your case for Jamaica to be compensated for the effects of slavery. Submit using the application form on our website jis.gov.jm.
Secondary students, the poster competition is for you. Submit your digital or illustrated posters to depict the theme, Jamaica, a case for reparation.
The photo competition is open to tertiary students in accredited Jamaican institutions. Send us a photo, also representing the theme, Jamaica, a case for reparation. All entries should be submitted using the application form on the JIS website. For more information, contact 876-922-3590, extension 2137 or 2132.
You may also email Heritage Essay, Heritage Poster, and Heritage Photo at jis.gov.jm.
Deadline for entries is Monday, October 28th. Go ahead, express yourself in the JIS Heritage Competition 2019.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, October 9. Government pulled in $202 billion in revenue and grants for the April to July period of the 2019-2020 fiscal year. That's 2% higher than budgeted and 8.9% more than the corresponding period last year. The figures were revealed in the 2019-2020 Fiscal Policy Paper Interim Report for September, which was tabled during Tuesday's sitting of Parliament. The document revealed higher than targeted tax revenue, which stood at $179.8 billion, and non-tax revenue totaling $19.4 billion. Gains have been attributed to increases in international trade taxes, as well as revenue from production and consumption. However, capital revenue and grant collections recorded lower than anticipated numbers. The dip in the capital revenue was due mainly to lower than budgeted pay-as-you-earn targets. Slower than projected implementation of grant-related projects affected the grant collections target. In the meantime, the House of Representatives yesterday approved the first supplementary budget for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. The revised budget, which sees a $50.15 billion increase in spending, was passed during a sitting of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says government will be embarking on a routine infrastructure maintenance program. This, he says, will ensure that infrastructure failures don't take the state by surprise. Mr. Holness adds that the routine maintenance program will complement the now completed restructuring exercise with the International Monetary Fund.
We're not just repairing the road, we are also changing the water mains, installing sewer where necessary or possible, and taking the time as well to install the fiber optics for telecommunications.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking at the recent opening of a $12 million state-of-the-art ICT center at Penwood High School. The center is fully equipped with 42 new computers, audiovisual equipment, a 65-inch television, high-speed internet, and Wi-Fi. The Prime Minister, who is Member of Parliament for the area, committed to renovating the high school. Upgrades are to include the building of additional classrooms, as well as the rehabilitation of the auditorium, staff room, and general administrative facilities.
I'm going to ensure that the program is placed on a fast track. But I know that the ministry's budget wouldn't be able to do it all. So I am going to mobilize some funds as well to support the government's effort. So it will be a joint venture. And we hope to have this done, and I see where we could actually start it early next year.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says government has begun the procurement process to acquire new water pipelines to service corporate area communities. Mr. Holness says the new mains will virtually eliminate the Kingston metropolitan area's water challenges.
Government has allocated significant resources to replace the line, and we have started the procurement process for a new pipeline which will run from the 6 miles area, interconnect to that blue line that you're seeing coming along Mandela, and it will go all the way down to Spanish Town Road, onto North Street, and carry water all the way down to Sabina Park.
Mr. Holness says the procurement process for more water trucks has also started. While those measures are underway, the Prime Minister has instructed the National Water Commission to divert and redistribute water to affected sections of the corporate area. The NWC has also been providing water tanks to vulnerable households. Still on water, residents of Top Hill and Retirement District in Malvern St. Elizabeth now have free access to the commodity following the opening of 2 water shops in the communities. St. Elizabeth is the latest parish to benefit under the government's initiative to construct water shops as a means of addressing shortage in parishes that traditionally suffer from severe drought conditions. The Top Hill facility was constructed at a cost of $8.9 million and serves over 1,500 residents in the community and its environs. The Retirement District water shop was built at a cost of $9.7 million and will benefit 3,000 residents. The facilities will each provide 16,000 gallons of purified water on a daily basis. Speaking at the opening ceremony on Thursday in Retirement District, Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie said 4 more water shops would be constructed in St. Elizabeth.
2 more will be constructed, and I hope, Mr. Wilson and Mayor, that at least we can complete at least 1 more before the end of the calendar year. And we are going down to Myersville, and then we're going to Trial in Junction with the other one.
The other 2 water shops will be built in Pedro Plains and Brompton in the parish. Minister McKenzie says $24 million will also be provided to the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation to purchase 2 new water trucks to service the 2 water shops. In other news, government is to put in place a gift policy which will formalize fundraising activities for charitable donations to the public health sector. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the ministry is finalizing discussions to implement the policy.
We want to encourage giving, but encourage it in a way that maximizes the impact. So having the needs clearly specified, having a protocol for how you give, and to ensure that there's appropriate levels of transparency, accountability to giving back.
Dr. Tufton was speaking at the recent handover of wheelchairs to the ministry and the Kingston Public Hospital. They were donated by the Wheelchair Foundation through local partners, the Rotary Club of St. Andrew and Skills Training Institute Operation Friendship. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
More and more students are being inspired to pursue entrepreneurial opportunities from as early as high school. Let's see how the Junior Achievement Company of Entrepreneurs is accommodating our future business leaders.
our business, we are currently making special glasses that are directly aimed at visually impaired or blind people.
I am the treasurer of Humble Ground Planting Supplies, and these are my seeding trays.
This is our first bag, one we made for feedback at school, and the children loved it.
Well, I am the CEO for Senior Eagles Company. Here with me today is my manager, Rakina Genius, our finance manager, Simone Wright, our human and resource manager, Janelle Anderson, our manufacturing and logistics director, Selvin Nicholson.
These grade 9 students at Jamaica College and Nain High School mean business. They're learning entrepreneurship by running real companies with real problems, real products, and real potential. They are part of the J-Seed program organized by Junior Achievement Jamaica and funded by USAID. At Nain High School in St. Elizabeth, students were using shoe boxes to protect their books and to give their school bags a more desirable shape. But there was a problem.
They are not long-lasting. As soon as you put them in your bag, by the end of the day, it's either crushed. If the rain falls, it wets.
The Senior Eagles Company spotted a business opportunity and developed the drop-it-in internal bag casing made from recycled 5-gallon plastic bottles. They do a better job at protecting valuables and shaping school bags than shoe boxes.
Here we have our manager dividing the jug into two halves when they're cutting the jug. This is our prototype, our work day while we were building the bag.
At Jamaica College, Vision is using modern technology to design glasses that warn the blind or visually impaired of obstacles in their path.
When infrared sensors, they're going to bounce off an object, and when the light bounces off an object, it will then come back to the process, which will process it, and go to the vibrating motor, which will then indicate to the wearer that there's an object in front of you.
Under J-Seed, 41 schools across Jamaica have added entrepreneurship to their grade 9 curriculum. Using the Junior Achievement Workbook as a guide, the students cover introduction to entrepreneurship, developing business ventures, conducting operations, and dissolving or expanding a business.
This really put me in the whole matter of the student-centered approach, wherein that it's not a chalk and talk. It's really getting into the brains of these students. The boys love it. They like to actually communicate with each other. They like to express themselves. And of course, it helps them to be more involved in the learning process.
At Nain High, the program is also student-centered and hands-on.
They sit and decide on what they want to do. They then go out and seek their own materials. They get back into their teams and they work on their product by themselves. I go around and I supervise and share ideas with them, ask questions and get feedback from them as well.
And based on the feedback, both the businesses and the students are growing.
Some of them have become more confident. They're certainly more creative, and they're now gelling more with each other because they've had to work together to create their products.
We noticed that students in our school, they were putting their uniforms in their bags when they changed for PE. So after PE, their uniforms would get crushed.
To solve the problem, our Crafters Group, an award-winning recycling company, decided to produce waterproof gym bags from recycled plastic bags.
After we found the plastic, we washed them. The plastic is then dried, placed over an ironing board. We put fabric over the plastic and we iron the plastic. We let it cool, and after it's dried, cut it, then we line the plastic that's on the inside. Then we wrap cardboard with some of the plastic and then we line it. Then we turn over the bag and so it's made from inside.
The students are also learning the importance of corporate social responsibility. Businesses at Nain High School use Labor Day to give back to the community.
It's a wonderful program because it's helping children all over Jamaica to showcase what they're capable of in terms of creativity, innovation.
I feel like this program, it's very great because it also exposes us and teaches us that there's many different good ideas out there and shows us that we should be confident in our idea and try to bring it out as best as possible.
And there's even more exposure for these young entrepreneurs through competitions. For example, students can create commercials for their businesses and enter them into the Marketing Maven competition. There's also the FedEx Access Award, which awards businesses for being environmentally friendly and globally focused. The JC program, cultivating the spirit of entrepreneurship in grade 9 students and imparting profitable skills for work and life.
Watch as we share another area of youth development in which the government is heavily involved.
The Citizen Security and Justice Program, CSJP, is a crime and violence prevention initiative. It was developed by the Ministry of National Security to enhance security and justice by addressing the social and economic factors that help foster crime. In 2010, the program launched an outreach initiative called CSJP's Men with a Message.
It is a group of messengers who are reformed men whose stories are aimed to inspire other young men.
Well, I've been a member from the inception of the group from 2010. My role is giving tips and caution to at-risk males, and just to show people that change is possible.
CSJP come and put me on the platform for a better life. My role in the program, I have to encourage my fellow member that we have a task and a journey. My role is also to empower the young youth them.
They were recruited using different criteria. There had to have been proof that they had been out of crime and violence for at least 2 years. They also had to get recommendations from the police, from the community members, and from especially like the community development committees. We must firstly understand that it's a journey. And if they were coming from the other extreme, you know that naturally a lot of workshops, a lot of personal development activities would have taken place along that journey. So they've been able to adjust their behavior. They've been able to reflect within themselves and say, if there are other youngsters who are looking up to me, the onus is on me to act in a particular way.
My name is Derek Jones. I'm a member of Men with a Message. I was in Central Lockup for around a month. I was a part of the problem, robbing people, park and corner, defend ends and turf, till end up go out fall on the wrong side. When I first wake up in jail, I can't believe that I'm in jail, I wake. So from there, my mindset started thinking different, knowing that jail was not the right place for me at that time.
I'm Kitsi Brian, and I'm a Man with a Message. Being in institutions and seeing what life is like, you just have to make a decision. Is either you're going to continue like this or you're going to make amends of your life. I decided that coming back into civilization, that I wanted a change.
We definitely see where the Men with a Message initiative, I mean the CSJP on a whole, but also in particular the Men with a Message initiative, has been having significant impacts on the youngsters across this island. One such evidence is it being the demand that is there for the program, for the young men to come and speak at the different schools. And not only have they been asked to come and speak, but there have been many calls for them to return.
I remember a particular place, it was somewhere over in St. Andrew, but there was a young man there who said that he knew me before all of this, and you know, when I gave a message and I finished and the young man came, you know, he was crying, tears running down his face, and he was asking me that if I don't remember him, but honestly I didn't know him, but he said that he knew me from time before, and that he had loved the transformation. I can safely say that young man is a member of the National Institute, Engineering Institute, which is NTI. So to see that I was the person that inspired that, wow, that's great.
They are representing a brand that is synonymous to peace building, a brand that is synonymous with law and order, right? So the Men with a Message are always expected to be good ambassadors of the program, of the CSJP, and of the Ministry of National Security, which is our parent ministry.
Don't follow a friend or not when I have nowhere going. Badness is madness. Stay in school. Garvey teach with that anywhere we go. Read something before we reach. Even if we sit down and waiting on the people, we need to read something. Read a book, and you would see the difference between you and the man when I read.
Favored, preferred, prepared mind. We have the power, you know, to form and shape our future. And I'd like to think that, you know, if you want good for yourself, then you'd want to choose the positive way too. Other people are doing what they want to do. So if I have a dream, I don't see the reason why I can't go there and achieve it, just like any other human being.
We've been on the topic of improved educational opportunities, and we continue our focus with even more initiatives that our government has spearheaded in the hopes of boosting our education sector. Here goes. Number 1, 120 primary school teachers across 7 parishes will be trained and certified in the use of the Linda Mood Bell learning process to diagnose and correct various language-based learning disabilities in students. Number 2, some 52 high schools are now participating in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information's Twinning of Schools initiative to expose students to academic and extracurricular programs that are not currently available at their own schools. More than $600 million has been allocated to pay the 2020 examination fees for high school students who are on the Program of Advancement Through Health and Education, otherwise known as PATH. And number 4, the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation will be increasing its academic instruction from 4 to 5 days per week. This is while it offers 3 new subjects under its Program for Adolescent Mothers called PAM. These are just a few of the ways in which our government is making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and of course, educate our people. Our children need all the help they can to prepare for the Primary Exit Profile PEP exams. One sure way of getting them ahead of the curve is a new PEP Tutor app. And guess what? It's FREE free.
What I liked about the app is that it helped students to understand basics in different subject areas.
I found it wonderful because it helped me to, in my language arts, it helped me to pass my exam.
PepTutor is a free application that works on all Android devices by default for students preparing for the primary exit profile exam to practice with. They can talk to the device, whatever device it is. If it's a smartphone, tablet, a Google Home device, or a smart TV, once it's Android. And it asks them questions and they can respond by either typing or talking to the phone.
Talk to PepTutor. Sure, let's get PepTutor.
The idea came out of a discussion that was on Twitter where persons were complaining about the exam, how difficult it is and how difficult it is to find questions to practice. So, you know, being in IT and always trying to use technology to solve problems, I decided to use technology to try to help them. Currently we have science, mathematics and language arts, and we're working on adding social studies and the ability questions. Before now, I got questions from the practice exams that the students were using to prepare for the PEP exam. And now I have a teacher from my primary school, which is Wakefield Primary School. She's assisting me to put the questions together because I'm not a teacher, I don't know how to test students. So she's preparing the questions and I'm just adding them to it. The app works by simply asking the students questions, and it asks multiple choice questions and short answer questions. So if a parent can sit and go through the questions with the student, if the answer that is provided by the student is incorrect, the app will tell the student that the answer is incorrect and tell them which one is correct or which answer is a correct answer. It doesn't show you how to work out the questions. So if it's a maths question and it says 2 + 3 is 5, it won't show you how to add 2 and 3, but it tells you that the answer is 5 and whatever answer you gave is incorrect. Just like any other exam, is to keep the students practicing constantly. You don't want to wait until the last minute, you know, and put them under additional stress and pressure. So from September, or even before, even you know, during whatever holidays, to have the students, you know, go through the different subject areas, sit with them on the weekends, and help them to get prepared. The PEP app will definitely assist students right across the board, whether they're rich, poor, or whether they're in the country or in town, getting better results in the PEP exams. I believe the PepTutor app will assist in us achieving our Vision 2030 goal by making access to education a lot easier for students, whether in Kingston or whether in urban or rural areas. And I think, by utilizing technology, will make learning more fun for students, and they will eventually do better.
And that's all the time we have for you on today's show. But if you missed anything, you can watch it all again on our website or our YouTube channel. Don't forget to keep up with us on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages. And just before we go, here's food for thought from author Anthony D'Angelo. Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Our women are the backbone of our society. They deserve to be protected and respected. Domestic violence is not okay. Speak up and speak out. No more violence against women.
Cameo delves behind the allure of the creative industries, going behind the scenes to reveal the growth potential and business opportunities that exist within the growing sector, dissecting its contribution and importance to Jamaica's economy, each week highlighting local creators in different categories: performing and visual arts, fashion, craft, film, animation, cuisine, and publishing. This week, we will recap our first season. With a booming photography industry, we feature local talent with that special eye.
I like to consider my style as being somewhat minimalistic. It's not always directly obvious what is being expressed, so you have to look at the layers that's underneath it.
I would say it would be a mixture of classic photography with a bit of urban art to it.
Award-winning photographer Howard Muyong spoke to us about that fateful night.
All of a sudden, after about 20 minutes, the time I light in flashing and thing, I hear Bob say,
"Could we have up here on stage here the presence of Mr. Michael Mann and Mr. Edward Siak?"
I know this was the moment. I just set the camera out from under my shirt and was ready. And I shoot manual, no flash. The lighting on stage is the lighting that illuminated these photos. And timing it, I'm just timing each shot. But what I could see through the camera, I could see the emotions of people, and I could see the feelings.
From getting the right single frame to an entire film.
You know, I wrote the screenplay because it didn't exist yet, and I had to write it. And sometimes you end up becoming a writer, not because it's your natural approach, but because you need a story. You know what I mean? Filmmaking is not a singular thing. I mean, the director is like the captain of the ship and kind of the one responsible for the overall creative delivery of the thing. But at the end of the day, you need a really good team of people. I mean, the better your team is, the better the work.
So you have to be open to criticism. You have to also be open to learning new things and learning outside of being on set, reading articles, reading books, discovering new filmmakers, researching the older ones, the ones that, made it.
Characteristics that lend themselves to filmmaking is probably creativity, being open-minded, and definitely a whole lot of patience. What happens a lot in the filmmaking industry is things don't always go as you planned it. So whether or not you're working on something in Jamaica that's a little low-budget thing, or you're working on something in full-blown Hollywood, people are going to be late, stuff gets painted the wrong color. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
And ready, and go!
Passion is integral as well, because it is a sort of industry where a lot of things will happen and sometimes things don't work out. And that's kind of life in general, but especially in the filmmaking industry, you find that things don't work out and maybe you work for months towards getting something done, and at the very last minute you realize maybe you couldn't get the funding for it, maybe your main actor dropped out, maybe the client, just all sorts of stuff,
Speaking of film, how about an animated feature?
Jamaica Animation Nation Network, or JAN for short, is a trade association for the animation industry, similar to what the Jamaica Manufacturers Association is for manufacturing, or the Jamaica Bankers Association is for banking. We're pretty much a guiding force and umbrella organization for the industry.
So by being on television, what kind of impact do you think Cabby Chronicles had on the local animation industry?
Well, a lot more people saw animation and a lot more people got exposed to the art of storytelling through animation. And people began to see what was possible using our own stories.
So what steps do local animators need to take to get their work into mainstream media?
A very important part of that, I think, is storytelling, being able to tell a good story, and of course, be able to execute.
We explore the importance of continued support to our local theatre spaces. So what's the relationship between the pantomime and Little Theatre?
Well, originally the pantomime came first. It was the Fowlers who decided they wanted to have a little Christmas fun and do the pantomime, much like they used to do in England. So it started off with them putting on a play, this pantomime, and as it got more and more popular, they decided that it should become an institution. So they started raising funds to kind of make sure that they could do it each year. And so therefore, the pantomime kind of came first, and then the Little Theatre movement came out of that. And from the Little Theatre movement, you get the Little Theatre.
Ashe started out doing a lot of original stuff. Back in Little People, we were doing musicals from Broadway. We were redoing musicals from Broadway. When we started Ashe, we started doing original stuff. It's the genesis of one of the productions that probably made Ashe very popular, which is called Vibes in a World of Sexuality. And so we were using the performing arts, which we were good at, to educate on social issues, to teach other young people about sex, about communication with parents, about the HIV and other STIs that were there.
DMH Productions is my initials, Dahlia Marie Harris, because I think it's an extension of me. I try to have the company do as many diverse things as possible, which is what I mean by an extension of me, because I want to be able to write plays, act in plays. I want to do different types of plays. I want the company to be able to offer opportunities for young talent to become exposed. That's a critical part of our mission. And I also do television production.
Since Jamaica Carnival's introduction in 1990, Carnival has boomed locally.
Early 1989, I think timing was right. He felt the timing was right, and the momentum was there, and Byron Lee sat there and started to dream up Carnival in Jamaica. He formulated a plan to introduce Carnival to his homeland, Jamaica, and that was how we formed Jamaica Carnival Limited in 1989.
Tell them this is good. Tell them this is our time.
Like in 2010, I started off having 5 to 7 clients. Today, I'm now working on over 45 clients for that morning. So it's a very big production. I have a very big team for that day. And the routine is like an assembly line, and very smooth and productive.
Carnival by Candy is a carnival concierge service. So what I do is I package flight, accommodation, transportation, costume, and party tickets for various carnivals throughout the region. Basically to just create a seamless carnival experience for people.
In 3 years, we're going to be seeing several thousand tourists coming in for soca. And that cannot be stopped.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Let's take a look at those Jamaicans who are making moves in our local fashion industry.
What we do here at the Courtney Washington Fashion House is from design, to marketing. We market the product after they are designed and sampled. They're sampled and then, photographed, and then, then we start our marketing. An atelier is where you have a designer or designers, where you start from the scratch, really, from sketches to draping to pattern, and then to manufacturing. So the Courtney Washington brand, we do all our manufacturing domestically. So you find that here at the atelier, on any given day, we're always creating.
She's committed to establishing Jamaica as the fashion hub of the Caribbean and launched the Collection Moda, a series of events in 2010. Let's chat with Kerry-Ann Clark.
So the Collection Moda was born from me seeing the need to assist, to share knowledge and so forth. And the mandate of the Collection Moda is to provide a platform for creative talent, not just fashion designers, but creative talent in Jamaica and eventually in the region, in the CARICOM, and help to give them a platform. So it's not a fashion show only, it consists of a series of events. We have a grant, a first global grant, where one person is awarded a cash award of $250,000. Last year we had about 90 applicants. This year we're hoping to have 120. We have a Moda Business, which is a business seminar where we invite persons internationally and locally who are industry specialists to share their knowledge with the attendees. We have a lifestyle magazine, which is an annual publication featuring not only local talent, again, but regional talent. And then we have Moda Market, and that is where the business unfolds. We have the invitation-only runway show.
America's Next Top Model was really hot. I thought, it would be nice to have something like this for fashion designers where you could promote the designers and have great prizes to help their career. And then Project Runway came about, and I became very active in the fashion cluster to, promote fashion designers. And I thought, something like a Project Runway here would be very good. We tried to get the franchise, but it was very difficult because Jamaica is a very small market and we can't support the millions and millions of US dollars that is required to put on a production like that. So we decided to do our own smaller scale production, and that was the birth of Mission Catwalk.
Hey, my name is Kurt Campbell. I'm from Jamaica.
Kurt, congratulations. You are the clear winner.
Winning Mission Catwalk 2014, it was breathtaking. Winning Mission Catwalk was the best thing ever happened because doing fashion shows, that's just it. After the fashion show, what happened?
Offering garment and apparel infrastructure at the national level is the JBDC. Ayana Dixon, a fellow Mission Catwalk alum, works with the JBDC support arm for small and micro businesses and offers advice and consultation to anyone wanting to enter the industry.
At JBDC, basically we're the support arm for small and micro businesses from the government, and my role here is to give hand-holding and consultation for people who want to be a part of the garment and apparel industry, not just fashion industry. So if you want to just have a factory for uniforms, we can help you set up that, the logistics, etc. We facilitate an incubator service also, so we have, sewing machines and stuff like that. So if you don't have the resources to kind of start your own business and do your own thing at home, we're able to facilitate you here.
Laura Lee Jones is the head of the Textiles and Fiber Arts Department here at Edna Manley College. How would you say that Edna Manley College is now contributing to our local fashion scene?
The contribution to our fashion industry is that we'll have individuals who are trained, individuals who understand some of the fundamental elements of design, of art, and how they bring that to their design process as designers, as fashion designers. understanding the color dynamics, understanding fabric, being innovative, because we don't only focus on just buying fabric to create a style. You can make your own fabric, you can print your own fabric, you can dye your own fabrics. And that's the unique feature that Edna Manley brings to the program.
Rev Jewelry and Accessories prides itself on providing high-quality, one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. We had a chat with the brother and sister team behind the brand, Tecia and Dwayne Bennett.
So Rev Jewelry and Accessories is handmade, one-of-a-kind pieces. They're very diverse in the sense that we use materials locally sourced. We use semi-precious and precious materials that include stones, seeds such as the ackee seeds. There are 3 different collections in the Rev Jewelry and Accessories line. You have the Sweat of the Sun, which is the gold and red gold, red looking metal. We have Tears of the Moon, which is the silver, white gold, and we have Rain of the Earth, which is more the natural line.
Starting Rev Jewelry and Accessories, because we chose to build the company organically, it took a lot of work. And what I mean by organically, it meant that we didn't look for any capital or loans to start up our company. Being the eldest of 3 siblings, I had wet my feet first by working. My brother's never worked for anyone else, he can boast that. But so I worked before, and that experience working here locally and also internationally kind of gave me a start with that. And also when we shared the vision with our family, especially, and our friends, they were so supportive. They still have been. We've gained so many friends through doing our business since as well.
I'm Chris Williams, CEO for Proven. When I think of Business Access TV, 2 words come to mind: passion and performance. In the short space of time that they've been on air, has demonstrated clearly the Jamaican passion for anything that we set our minds to. They have approached television in the most creative and dynamic way, and I'm proud to see how this young station has evolved. In terms of performance, they back up what they say they're going to do. All their programs, all their packages, all their promotions are efficiently and effectively executed.
I am Shani Jaja, and you're watching Business Access.
Kicking off our 3rd segment are 3 local food entrepreneurs.
In any restaurant, there's a lot of things that you have to consider. The right staffing, the right location, and not only pay attention to great customer service and hospitality, but you have to consider the work around the back. And the back work is what takes up a lot of the construction of a restaurant, if you want to say, because you have to analyze your food costs, you have to analyze your staff inputs, your expenditures, your suppliers, you have to organize a lot of these things, and you have to get them on a timely basis.
It is most important that you know what the consumer wants. It's most important. I mean, before all else, well, obviously the name and the menu is the first and foremost, but the customer is what keeps the name and the menu there. It's what pays the staff. They're what, you know, buy the uniforms and buy the food to make the dishes. So you need to know what your customer wants, and not only what they want, but what they don't want.
I'm really, really picky about how we treat our customer. I've always said without a customer, we're nothing but four walls. So we have to give you an experience. It's not just about good food, it's about the experience, and service is important. So finding good servers, good bartenders who understand the significance of customer service, of customer being the king, and teaching them how to go about it.
Opa! Made in Jamaica, bamboo and wood furniture.
Modern Woodcraft started in 1979. That was a period when a lot of manufacturers were closing their business and migrating. So we entered the manufacturing business at that point, manufacturing furniture for homes.
The original bamboo factory has been in operation since 1990, creating quality bamboo furniture for every room in your home. I had a chat with Chief Executive Officer John Hamilton.
The process starts when you give the builder the design with all the particulars, dimensions, what he's to get. And then he goes out and looks in our stocks and selects all the bamboo that he would need for that. And those pieces of bamboo are cut into certain lengths that he needs. Once the builder has selected the bamboo for the certain job, he gives that bamboo to a scraper, and he or she scrapes the bamboo with a sharp kitchen knife and removes all the outer skin. This allows the bamboo to have a more uniform color in appearance, and it also gives it a better treatment process so that the chemicals can penetrate the bamboo.
Jamaica's art is as diverse as its culture. Donovan Fairweather's work has a strong Afrocentric theme, embellished with techniques of varied disciplines infused to set him distinctly apart. His works can be found throughout the globe in the most prestigious of homes to the most humble, as his astute collection ranges from collectibles to fine art.
Over the years, I've developed a good clientele. Apart from that, I use the traditional way of mounting exhibitions, and I also sell some of my pieces, which I call the collectibles, through JBDC. For the high-end pieces, they'll be in galleries or private clientele.
Nanook Enterprises Limited is a social enterprise that empowers Caribbean artists and entrepreneurs to make a living from their culture and creativity by providing the resources that people need to materialize their creative vision.
Nanook is an intention, Nanook is a solution. We say that our approach is as creative as the persons that we're here to serve. So the name stands for nurturing all nuances of one's creativity. And we're at once a physical space that offers a solution in itself, and we're increasingly introducing a range of services, virtual and real, that we offer to our community. So we assist persons in film, fashion, dance, music, etc., in doing the development, showcasing, networking, the different aspects of what's necessary for them to do better business.
The works of legends like Capo and Manley, as well as newcomers alike, sell for thousands all over the world. But after the paint dries and the marble is polished, how do you go about the business of your art? Today, we take a look at Jamaicans' leading and cutting-edge institutions taking charge of the business end of the paintbrush.
The National Gallery was established in 1974 because it was recognized that there was a need for a national art museum. The Jamaican art movement had been growing exponentially over the years, and it was felt that there was a need for a specialized institution that would provide exposure, documentation, collection of art, and so forth. So that was the reason why it was established at the time.
A lot of young artists are no longer looking for gallery spaces specifically. They're creating their own spaces. And the thing is, when you are promoting yourself in that way, putting your work out there, you will come on our radar. And if we have a show that you fit in, then you most likely will be approached for that.
New Local Space really, we felt, really captured the spirit, which is contemporary, and it provides a platform for artists, and the space not only functions as a physical space, but it also functions as a space in terms of the World Wide Web, and we also function as a space that engages other spaces outside of Jamaica.
I hope you enjoyed this first season of Cameo. We featured many different talents within our creative industries. Please be sure to tune in for Season 2, starting January 2nd, 2016. I've been your host, Amita Prasad Webb.
Now presenting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund ICDP Enterprise Development Project. Entrepreneurial Grant Business Pitch.
This project is a $100 million grant that's seeking to target 50 small and micro business enterprises and give them training, capacity development, equipment, permits and license towards the development and the viability of their business. We have made a call for proposal in March of this year for entrepreneurs to submit for the opportunity to receive a grant between $1 and $5 million. We received more than 500 applications, and so we have now shortlisted them to 100. So we've invited that top 100 applicants here today, and they're going to have to pitch their business idea to a panel, and of the 150 will actually transfer and win the opportunity for the grants. One of the primary objectives of what we're doing here is employment. We want the business to be able to sustain not only the principals as the owners, but we also want the business to be able to employ at least 2 people. The next part of it, as we do in all of our projects like this, is it provides a learning instrument of how we can engage small and micro enterprises and take them to the next level.
Why we're doing this rigorous process because we want to identify the best potential entrepreneurs for this project. And keep in mind that we are speaking about a loan, so we want to ensure that the applicants are committed, and that from a sustainability point of view, that upon receiving the support from JSIF, that in 2-3 years the enterprises will still be operational and the broader objective of the project would be achieved. Once we have now equipped them and they should be ready to start their production and going, we'll then have a mentorship component.
It has been a very competitive process. Jamaica is filled with persons with drive and passion. We're expecting that the best will be selected. And then for those who are not successful, we are also hoping to link them to other providers of services, because I'm telling you today, from what I've seen, it is an excellent, excellent, excellent opportunity. It's worthy of note that many persons coming here today already have some kind of semblance of a business, but they need the additional support to move that business to the other level, as well as some persons that come in with those proposals to start from scratch. On behalf of the JSIF, we want to really thank the DBJ and other partners from UWI who came to be part of the panel, and just to remind you that the JSIF is here and we're investing for community development.
It's Season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
Hello and welcome to Business Access Television's coverage of the opening ceremony and reception for the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. We're at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston. I'm your host, Keneal Gale. Stay tuned for the highlights.
Honorable Minister Nigel Clarke, other distinguished guests, members of the UWIC Committee, and members of the Mona School of Business and Management, academics from Jamaica and the region, members of the business community, President of the PSOJ and other dignitaries. Welcome. This is our official opening of our 4th International Business Conference, and it promises to be one of our most exciting as we deal with the topic of entrepreneurship and the promise that it should deliver to the economy. We're pleased to share and spearhead this initiative, and we feel that we're well placed to do so. The Mona School of Business and Management has a long record of research, teaching and learning, as well as implementing our own venture competition program, which has gone on to be the 2-time defending champion of the National Business Model Competition. So we feel that we're uniquely placed to have this discussion about entrepreneurship. We seek to bring together all the members of the community, entrepreneurs, small and large, and to have critical discussions. We've started today, but over the next 2 days, on how we can advance entrepreneurship, both traditional and social entrepreneurship, in collaboration with you, our partners. So, welcome once again. We look forward to stimulating discussion. As I said this morning, this is another in the series of building bridges between not just Mona School of Business and Management, but also the wider university to the business community. We feel it's important that what we do impacts you today and tomorrow. Today it is teaching and learning, tomorrow it is research.
We had our first in 2015. And at that stage, our executive director at the time, Professor Denzel Williams, thought it would be a good idea to have an event that showcased more of the work of the University of the West Indies, more of the experiences of small island developing states in the area of business and management. And so here we are today, the 4th conference, under the leadership of our new executive director, Dr. David McBean. And so this conference, we've chosen the theme of delivering on the promise of entrepreneurship. Why? We are at a watershed moment in our country's history and development. We've had a number of policies, a number of initiatives among a whole range of actors, organizations in Jamaica, and among our international development partners. And the focus has been largely on entrepreneurship, innovation. What is the magic? What do we need to do to propel our economy forward? And so we thought at this stage, as a business and management institution, educational institution, it would be good to showcase our role in that. And so we brought together this, what I call, distinguished panel of speakers and this program throughout the conference. So we have put together 23 sessions over a 3-day period. We started this morning at 8:30 a.m. and I'm happy to see many of the people who were here at 8:30 a.m. They're still here with us, and I'm grateful for that. We don't take that kind of support lightly at all. So our program reflects a number of the key players across the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Jamaica, from private sector, public sector, civil society, social enterprises. We have, for instance, our host of display and exhibits on the outside and throughout the conference. And these are businesses, enterprises that have sprung up, most of them, through our venture competitions at the Mona School of Business and Management and the wider university campus. And as we are here, I invite you to walk about and see what is there. So we have a host of sessions that focus on some of the hard skills for entrepreneurs. What are the audit issues? What are the legal issues? What are the regulatory issues that we all need to know about as entrepreneurs and MSMEs? What are some of the innovations? What are some of the policies taking place? We have sessions that focus on youth entrepreneurship, on gender, on networking. And it's critical that we offer these kinds of skills, because the reality is doing business is not just about the legal and regulatory issues. It's not just about having the idea. It's also equipping our entrepreneurs and MSMEs to learn about how to network. How do you navigate the waters?
We're here with Dr. David McBean, who is the Executive Director of the Mona School of Business and Management. Welcome to Business Access Television, Dr. McBean.
Thank you for having me.
Just tell me quickly, what was the thinking behind setting up this conference and organizing the theme for this conference?
Well, it's our biennial conference, as is once every 2 years. And when we looked at our research, our interest, what the country need, we decided on looking at entrepreneurship and promise of delivery. And entrepreneurship is now just so crucial for growth, and the minister would have endorsed that. And as a business school, because we remind people we're a business school, we have to look at the issues and areas that would drive business development in the country. So that's how we ended up with entrepreneurship this year.
Do you think Mona School of Business's role in helping to drive economic growth in Jamaica is somewhat overlooked?
I wouldn't say overlooked, more understated. So we've had impact on policy, for example, influencing MSME policies, policies on entrepreneurship. We've done research and consultancies with all the major companies in the country across manufacturing, finance, for example. So we are an important part of the fabric. Our graduates, whether at the undergraduate level or the postgraduate level, are in every facet of business in the country. But people tend to take it for granted. And so one of the things we have to do is certainly increase our engagement, but also highlight our existing engagement.
Do you think there needs to be greater collaboration with the Mona School of Business and other faculties on campus?
Yes, and we do have that collaboration. So for example, our master's students right now are solving some problems in the Faculty of Medicine. And we're doing work also with the main administrative centers, looking at student performance. And so we are increasingly more integrated, and we run the venture competition on campus, whose winners have gone on to win the National Business Model Competition. So we don't only take MSBM students, we do take students from other faculties. So we do a bit, but we have a lot more to do, and especially around entrepreneurship, driving that throughout the university.
I'm really very pleased to be here and for the DBJ to be a sponsor of this very, very important conference that the Mona School of Business and Management is putting on. indeed, this is the second year that the DBJ is sponsoring this conference. And I am pleased that we are sponsoring again this year because the theme of the conference, delivering on the promise of entrepreneurship, is really aligned with the work that we are doing at the DBJ as it relates to our focus on the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. So we have capacity building programs that are offered to the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. The work that we're doing in entrepreneurship, the work that we do with the universities, with the incubators, the business model competition that we sponsor every year with the universities. This is all very, very, very important work that's taking place, and we are really very happy to see that the Mona School of Management and Business is now really putting into practice a lot of the research and theories that we have at the universities. So yes, we are very pleased. We are very happy to be a sponsor of this conference, and the reports that I've had so far, the conference has indeed has gone very, very well. And just to say that we're looking forward to continue working in particular with the Mona School of Business. There are a number of very exciting projects and programs that we are going to be rolling out during the course of this year. The minister might mention some of them in his remarks. But again, just to say that we are really very happy to be a sponsor again of this conference, and we wish the conference every success. Thank you very much.
You're watching Business Access's coverage of the opening ceremony and reception for the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. More after this break.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show, and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Welcome back to Business Access Television's coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's Business and Management Conference. Here are more highlights.
I'm very happy that the Mona School of Business has saw it fit to focus on the topic of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship at its most fundamental level is taking risk in order to achieve a particular objective. You can have social entrepreneurs, you can have business entrepreneurs. I think we're focused on business entrepreneurs here, but the risk taking is common to both. And as far as business entrepreneurs are concerned, it is risk taking with a view of making a profit. Now, throughout the course of human history, it is clear and abundantly clear that the value of entrepreneurship to society is immensely great, because all progress comes from taking risk, making mistakes, and more often than not, making breakthroughs that lead to phenomenal results. And all the advances that we can think of, the things that we take for granted, even here in Jamaica, the clothes that we wear, to the devices that we use, the cars that we drive, all of the products and services that we consume and we don't even think about, they resulted at some point in time from some entrepreneurial energy and success. Indeed, the components of all the things that we use resulted from some type of entrepreneurial success. So societies around the world that want to get ahead, want to deliver for their people prosperity, are focused on how to engender and support and inculcate in their societies this thing that we call entrepreneurship. When you go to countries like Chile, that is today known for entrepreneurship, it has resulted from a dedicated focus over a long period of time, and Chile has had some very innovative programs, some of which would be great if we could do in Jamaica. They have a program, for instance, and this is not a proposal. This is called flying a kite. But they have this very interesting thing in Chile where, and they can do it now given the stage of development they're at, but they offer a certain amount of funds to any entrepreneur anywhere in the world who comes and sets up business in Santiago. And they may even, there's a small hiring component. So you're going to set up a business, they advertise. You come to Chile and we will give you $50,000. I don't have the precise, it might be 50, it might be 25, but some number like that. That's how serious they are about entrepreneurship. You go to Israel, there are serious programs designed to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem. You go to India, and it's the same. And the reason is that these countries realize the tremendous value to society from having an entrepreneurial ecosystem and an entrepreneurial group in society that's not predetermined by birth. It's not the son of or the daughter of. It is determined by the power of one's character and one's dispensation, one's energy, one's outlook, one's preferences in life. If entrepreneurship is going to be dependent on the son of or the daughter of, we'll never get anywhere because there's no talent in the world that we know that's distributed in that way. But in all countries that thrive on entrepreneurship, there is a great degree of innovation that comes from their research institutions. Now, Jamaica has research. Of the 25 patents in the University of the West Indies, I believe 20 of them, Prof, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 20 of them are at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. These are international patents. Now the question is, how many of them have been commercialized and have been made to make money? That is the question. Because one thing to have the brain power and the tenacity, brain power to develop the research, the tenacity to go through the complicated process of registering an international patent and having the intellectual property. But the next stage is to be able to commercialize that research. And that is an element that we need to work on if we are to realize our potential. As a result of that, we are working on engagement with the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, and we're doing it through the DBJ. That is going to help us with the technical resources to build the capacity for commercializing of research. And these things normally come with loans. So they lend you money and then they have all of the consulting with it. We're in the process of negotiating that now, and I hope before too long it is something that we can launch. And as I said, a key component of it will be to enhance our ability to commercialize research. The inspiration that comes from, that leads to these kinds of development are not known it's not known a priori from which quarter it will spring. We don't know in advance under which rock or at which root of which tree this inspiration is going to arise. And therefore, we have to have an environment where wherever it springs from, capital can be available to allow it to move forward. And having a market economy where prior ownership of capital is a necessary prerequisite to get from point A to point B is an experiment in futility. That's an exercise that will never work. We have to democratize capital, and it only responds to ideas. Now, we are making steps in that regard. As I announced earlier this year, as a part of the IDB facility of which I spoke earlier, which will have the component that helps us in the research and the knowledge transfer, we're going to have a sidecar fund of just starting with 200 million Jamaican dollars that will match angel investors, dollar for dollar, on angel investments that they make. The government doesn't have the resources to do the search or the evaluation, and so what it will do is find as many angel networks as it can, 2, 3, 4, 5, and have MOUs with them that whatever they decide to support, the government will come in on the same terms on a 50-50 basis. This will expand the pool available for the ventures that are at the riskiest and most uncertain stage. We have also increased our allocations through the DBJ and through other intermediaries of funding to medium-sized, micro and small businesses. As far as a product that deals with the providing replacement for security, i.e. this guaranteed product, where a medium-sized business that doesn't have the collateral can get a credit support from the DBJ, we increased the allocation of that from 250 million last year to 600 million this year, because we're serious about promoting entrepreneurship. There's a facility that deals with risk capital at the DBJ that we increased from 100 million to 400 million this year, because we're serious about boosting entrepreneurship. This is from a government that has 1 million, as you know, pressing needs in society, where we're creating space to support entrepreneurship. We also have allocated for the first time, and we just have to finalize the mechanisms for its disbursement, $500 million that is dedicated exclusively to companies that have sales under $10 million. So normally what happens, you allocate to MSMEs, and the companies with sales of 400 million or 300 million tend to dominate the financing. We know from our experience that the broader the base is the stronger the pyramid. So we want to make sure we have a broad base and that the micro companies have access to the oxygen of finance, and therefore $500 million exclusively to micro enterprises. In my budget presentation, I announced $200 million to be allocated towards research. Well, what we will do is allocate those funds across the research university space in a way that is transparent and in reference to some objective criteria, and leave it to the universities under some MOU with the Ministry of Finance, that's very general, to run the internal competitions for the allocation of those funds.
We take another break here on Business Access Television's coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching BATV's coverage of the opening ceremony and reception for the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. Mr. Clark, welcome to Business Access. Do you think the issue of research and development has been understated in Jamaica in terms of driving economic growth?
I think research has a huge role to play in our development. As I said in my speech earlier, of the 25 patents at the University of the West Indies regionally, 20 of them are right here on the Mona campus, right? People right here in Jamaica who have registered 20 international patents. What we want is an environment where we encourage other researchers to develop ideas that can lead to international patents. But in addition to that, we want an environment where those patents can be commercialized, where those patents, the knowledge can be transferred to those with entrepreneurial energy and those who have a desire to take risk, and for those patents to be turned into money at the end of the day. And the government is focused on working to ensure that this becomes a possibility. We're working with the IDB, Inter-American Development Bank, on a project to boost entrepreneurship in Jamaica, and a big part of that project will be to provide the technical resources and provide us with the technical help to build those knowledge transfer mechanisms to allow us to commercialize research.
How will you ensure that the other universities do not feel left out? Because you did speak about spreading across the country, but how will we ensure that it's not just heavily UWI influenced?
No, absolutely. When I speak about, I'm just using the examples of the patents because they have come from UWI, right? So that's just a fact of life. But our approach to research will be Jamaica-wide. Any institution involved in research, whatever we are doing, for example, with that IDB project to boost entrepreneurship, will be generally available.
You spoke about the $200 million that will start in the fund. What about those who say, that's not enough if we really want to monetize this properly?
If you start at zero,
right,
and you go from 0 to 200, that's an infinite increase, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, we have to start somewhere. This is the first time that we are making an allocation directly from the budget specifically for research. Okay, normally how it is done, it is an allocation made to the university, and then they choose what they're going to put here and there. Here we're saying research is important, and we are symbolizing what we mean by that by making an amount available. And we start somewhere, and we hope to build on that over time.
All right, Mr. Thank you so much for talking with us.
My pleasure.
Your response to the minister's presentation earlier about the government's commitment to research.
So, Mr. Clark said some very positive things about supporting entrepreneurialism and entrepreneurship in Jamaica. And I think that many of those things, if implemented properly, will have some visible impact that we're going to see. So, talking about giving space to the private sector and for that creativity to be found and democratizing funding for them, great things. And some of those programs that are through DBJ going to be enabling more people to be able to access these funds, also great things. And the microfinance to the micro entities, also wonderful ideas. The funding for research, big step in the right direction. Government has funded research indirectly by funding universities, but they've never before said you must use these funds for research. And now this is that first step. And I think it's very good to recognize that what research does is help provide solutions to problems that, let's say, nobody knows the answer to yet. That's the point of research. And so to recognize that that's an important component of that stream of activities that leads to the kind of entrepreneurial outputs that we're looking for, that have economic impact. And to recognize that some deliberate funding needs to be put into that, that's a step in the right direction. So I fully support.
And that's how we end our coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference, opening ceremony and reception. I'm your host, Keneal Gale. Thanks so much for watching. On Point is brought to you by Dargin Global.
A very good evening and welcome to On Point. My name is Patria Kay.
And I'm Dennis Chung.
And we've got a lot to talk about this week. Yeah. Dennis, obviously the top of the discussion is going to be about the performance of the athletes at the recently concluded World Championships.
Yeah, the two highlights to me were number one, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce.
Boom!
And I've just always admired her, you know, her humility and, you know, the way she just seems to just do so much more, you know, in terms of her effort.
Don't leave Shelly yet, because the humility and the humanity that she brought, that moment when she won her gold medal, a gold medal that was hard fought for. People were wondering whether or not Shelly was back, and she showed, I'm here and I'm here to stay. And then she celebrated her victory lap with her 2-year-old son Zion on her shoulders. Like, what other image does the world need than that?
Yeah, no, Shelly is a fantastic person. I mean, Shelly, I've always admired her a lot. Veronica, you know, Usain, Asafa. I mean, that generation coming from that time was just remarkable.
And there's a conversation that's happening in the space of track and field about who will the new face be. In the absence of an effervescent, camera-ready, antic always Usain Bolt, what is the new personality that you bring? Who is the new personality that represents the face of track and field in the same way that you used to look at Usain Bolt and he summed up the entire field? Who do you now look to? And a working mother, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, is poised to become that face for the next Olympics.
No, I definitely think it's Shelly-Ann. I don't see anyone else who's going to take up that mantle, you know, regrettably. But the truth is that we've been spoiled by a fantastic period. I mean, a once-in-a-lifetime period of all these great athletes, you know, 4 of the fastest men in the world.
Unreal.
At the time, you know.
One little island of less than 3 million people. We're ranked 3rd in the world in the games, behind Kenya and the United States.
But the thing that really got me at the World Championship was the field events. Tajay.
Gold medal.
Dacres.
Fantastic.
You know, Thomas Dodd.
We walked away with 4 field event medals in the games this year. And
the long jump, I think it was Ricketts.
You actually accept it within 2 minds. Certainly I do, because as much as I celebrate and I say yes, because I've been wanting a diversification of the sports that we not only participate but excel in for a very long time, I also wonder, does this mean that track is in trouble?
I don't think so.
Nobody expected us to get these medals, and the tally count going into the games was anywhere between 12 and 13. We got that, but the expectation was that 12 and 13 were going to be track medals.
Yeah, but we also got some good track medals, you know. I mean, the 4x4 women, the 4x1 women, right? I mean, they were just unfortunate, I think, in the 4x4 because they ran fantastically. Shericka Jackson in the 400. So I think we did pretty well.
But what happened to our relay men? 4x1, you could close your eyes and know Jamaica's going to start.
I think the men are in a slump right now. I think the men are in a slump. And it always comes back to that interview Bolt did, where he said that the younger guys are just not putting in the time now. And I don't know if you ever read this book by Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. He says there's no one born exceptional.
Yes.
People just put in more time. And I think that is what the edge that the people of those era of Bolt and Shellyan had over them.
Absolutely.
You know, but you know, it's good that we can talk about that. But coming up, we're going to be talking to Stephen Shaw from the NWA about another important event that has been happening for over the past year, which is the roadworks, and what damage has been done to the road with the recent rains, and how we're going to deal with that. But before we look at that, let's take a look back at some of the top business stories of the week.
At number 5, another multi-billion-dollar ruling against pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson. The company has been told to pay $8 billion in punitive damages to a man over claims he was not warned that an antipsychotic drug could lead to breast growth. A Philadelphia jury made the award, which Johnson & Johnson says it will appeal. At number 4, a silver lining seems to be appearing for those affected by the Thomas Cook collapse. All 555 Thomas Cook shops are to be bought by rival Hayes Travel in a move that could save up to 2,500 jobs. The independent travel agent said the move gives it shops in areas where it had little or no presence. At number 3, the Jamaican government is reporting that the first 4 months of the 2019-2020 fiscal year, that's April to July 2019, has seen revenue and grant inflows totaling just over $202 billion. This is 2% higher than budgeted and 8.9% more than the corresponding period last year. The better than budgeted outturn has been attributed to tax revenue inflows of $179.8 billion and non-tax revenue totaling $19.4 billion, which were 2.1% and 3.1% higher than their respective targets. At number 2, $38 million has been allocated to fund a forensic audit of oil losses at State Refinery Petrojam. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the allocation is a demonstration that the government is serious about getting to the bottom of the problems at Petrojam. Prime Minister Andrew Holness ordered the audit last December to explain oil losses. The Auditor General will oversee recruitment of the forensic auditor for the undertaking. At number 1, former Education Minister Ruel Reid was taken into custody early Wednesday morning following a pre-dawn raid. Also arrested were Ruel Reid's wife, his daughter, Caribbean Maritime University President Professor Fritz Pinnock, and Counsel for the Brownstown Division in St. Anne, Kim Brown Lawrence. They were charged with breaches of the Prevention of Corruption Act, conspiracy to defraud, misconduct in a public office of common law, and breaches of the Proceeds of Crime Act. They all appeared in court Thursday morning, where they were granted bail.
When we come back, on point will be Jamaica's roads.
Outsourced finance and accounting service. Growing companies face a challenge. For you to stay focused on building your business, you need solid financial management with a dependable accounting function, a resource you may not have in-house. That's where we come in. Dodgen Global provides startups and other businesses with outsourced accounting and finance solutions on a fixed fee basis. No matter what your size or fundraising status, we can tailor our services to fit your needs at every stage of your company's life cycle. Whether you want to add expertise to your existing team or completely outsource your accounting and finance functions, we offer reliable and economical options, including accounting system installations and upgrades, from simple to complex, help establishing preferred banking, legal, payroll, benefits, and HR relationships, paperless online bill payment and bookkeeping, financial reporting and advice for management and investors, financial statement audit management, sales tax compliance. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global, website https://dodgen.global.
Welcome back to On Point. Now, the recent rains here in Jamaica gave Jamaica a multi-million-dollar bill. Several roads crumbled under the water. But why? And where are we with the repairs? We're talking about it today with Customer Service and Communications Manager at the NWA, Stephen Shaw. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, good evening.
Thanks for coming. Stephen, roads. What's happening with the roads? It has been the talk of the town for a long time now.
Yes, I mean, and the roads will continue to be the talk of the town because most Jamaicans depend on roads to get to and fro. And, you know, all the services that we requires us driving from one place to another. And how else do we get around on the island but via road in the main? So roads will always be in the mix where discussions are concerned.
Let's get to the budgeting of what happened over the last 2 weeks. Rains. What's the actual figure that we're looking at in terms of repairs from the recent bout of rains?
Well, the Prime Minister did speak in Parliament and gave some numbers. And those numbers would have been preliminary based on what would have happened up to that time. We're still in the mode where all of those numbers are being crunched. But what I can say is that we have been able to reopen all the affected corridors in those parishes that were severely impacted. All but 2 corridors would have remained closed, and that is because we need to do significant civil works.
And those 2 are?
There is Job's Lane over in St. Catherine, that's near the motor vehicle exam depot, and then there is a road from Lower Chapelton to Rock River, and that particular corridor requires a couple of retaining walls, and we need to also replace some culverts that have collapsed beneath the road.
And I'm going to go back to the budgeting, because when you sit down for a financial year and you plan roadworks that are expected, a repair budget, it's modest, I assume. Yes. Nobody anticipates 2 weeks worth of rain that will decimate some roads in the country that will have to be repaired with urgency. How do you budget for that, and how do you finance that budget?
Well, we, every year, as a matter of fact, round about now, we put together a program and a budget based on the program that we would have formulated. We get funding from a couple of sources. There is the funding that we would get from what used to be the road maintenance fund. That's monies where we get 1/3 of the motor vehicle licensing fees. And we also get budgetary support from the government otherwise. And so we will get somewhere in the region of $2.5 billion at the outset. And usually, and that is for routine
everyday
activities.
Yes.
Right. We will get additional funds to execute works under what we refer to as the Capital B program. Mm-hmm. So the Capital B would be like the Mandela Highway, Constant Spring Road, Hagley Park Road, South Coast Highway, and the like. Those big mega projects.
But act of God, 2 weeks of rain, you're not getting additional funds to pay for that, so something will suffer.
Well, the government has the responsibility to treat with those things. Our duty is to ensure that we respond, and our response will entail cleaning and clearing, and to ensure that persons can go about and the business of the country does continue. As it relates to the payment of the bills, that is something that the Ministry of Economic Growth and the Ministry of Finance, those two ministries charged with that responsibility, they will deal with that aspect of the government.
You just get the job done.
The estimate for the damage that there was about $500 million now, wasn't it?
It's somewhere in the region of over 600 million.
Over 600 million.
And that would have included events coming from April up.
But one of the things I want to ask, so Stephen, I from time to time I meet up on Mark Barnett from NWC, right?
Yes.
And it seems as if, even we're doing some roads and things, but we really have an infrastructural problem, eh? Our infrastructure is really crumbling, eh?
You know, we do have an infrastructure problem. Yeah. What have we been doing as it relates to the problem that we have? So we have put together some programs, with the latest being the Major Infrastructure Development Program, through which we have treated with significant portions of our network. And we have used a different approach in that hitherto, where a road will be built, drains put in, but the effort to put in or to improve the water infrastructure or the sewage infrastructure would not have been part and parcel of the overall road construction.
And you guys got licks for that.
And rightly so. Now, the government has taken a different approach in executing these works. Mm-hmm. So we are doing, not the road is coming at the back end of all the other infrastructural works. So in effect, you have 4 projects or 5 going on at the same time. So we're improving the sewage infrastructure, or putting in where none exists.
Yes.
We're improving the water delivery. We're removing poles, putting in sidewalks, and then we are putting in the roads. Also, the telecommunications companies use the opportunity to also upgrade their own infrastructure.
But we still have moments where there are repairs, because Dennis talks about an aging infrastructure. We have old pipes, and there are very many times that the road has to be dug up to be able to access that.
Yes.
Whose responsibility is it to fix that road after it's dug up?
If, let us say, we have completed the activities, everything is back to normal, there is a burst pipe beneath the road, it is the authority with responsibility for water, in this case NWC, that will be responsible for, first of all, fixing the leak, and there will be some engagement afterwards where the fixing of the particular bit of road is concerned, based on the more recent discussions that we have been having between the two entities.
So that repair would be done by you at NWC's expense?
That is based on the agreement that we would have at that particular time between ourselves and the NWC. If that is the arrangement, then that is what is going to be done.
Because the complaint of many is the quality of those repairs that's done.
Yes.
The time frame in which those repairs are done, and the actual quality of the work. NWC can't come back and check that it was done properly because they don't know what they're checking for.
Yes.
NWA is the road authority. And there's the sentiment, the feeling that if there are road works done and a repair eventually happens, it's substandard.
Yeah, and we have heard the complaints, and we have actually seen some of these things. We have written, and that is why I think there is a greater effort at collaborating, at having the particular entity with the know-how doing that which they are competent and capable of doing. And so if the Water Commission in this instance, there is no doubt that they are the water authority. They know much more about the movement of water and how to fix leaks and so on than we do. Our job is to ensure that the road stands up after all of that would have been done. There are times when the Water Commission may engage private contractors to carry out its work. In recent times, we have been engaged to carry out those types of repairs, and that agreement is in force, and it continues to be honored by both sides.
But as Patria is saying though, shouldn't it be a policy that anything to do with the road is done by NWA, and then whatever organization is so compensate you for?
Well, I mean, when it comes to policy and where policy goes or doesn't go, at our level, at the operational level, we really have no control. So that is something that you would better direct at the policymakers and not at the operational individuals such as myself.
Because we've suffered because of that, for a very long time. I mean, I see the improvements in terms of the collaboration that takes place between NWC and NWA. But as Patria said, the quality of the roads. I mean, NWC is, it's like you're sending a tailor to do a carpenter job, because their expertise is just not fixing road.
As I said, and we have recognized, as I've said earlier, the challenges and the difficulties that the arrangements that existed hitherto, where you have one silo here, another silo there, and then the two are not really on the same level.
And they're under two separate ministries, eh?
Right now, we're under the same ministry, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Let me ask a stupid question. Roads have a warranty?
The contract, when you do work with a certain value, you have what you refer to as a defects liability period, and that period may go up to a year, depending on the size of the contract. Now, there is an argument that has been put forward, and there are some persons within the organization who shares the view that we should have a longer period where if defects appear, then the contractor will be responsible, subject to different things. And so when you have let us say, a Mandela Highway, where you'd have spent roughly $65 million US, and you have a defects period for a year, I mean, you see, something, you can't, one could make an argument that period is too short for such an expenditure.
But even
but
on the other end,
is something that again, policymakers will have to look.
Even on the other end, if we don't go as far as the $65 million US Mandela Highway, people will tell you that there's a pothole in my community that is notorious.
Right.
That if it is fixed today, I guarantee you in 3 months it will appear again for another bout of repairs. That second and third and fourth bout of repairs. Is NWC paying for that? Are taxpayers paying for that? Or is that contractor coming back to fix it?
I need to put that pothole into perspective. Now, many times when we go out and patch a road, it is because there is an inherent weakness in the surface and or base of that particular road. So you have a breakdown, the surface might have oxidized, old, aged, it cracks and lends itself to bits and pieces popping out, especially whenever you have heavy rains, as we have experienced in recent times. So you go and you patch that hole. But the cracks are there, maybe not visible to you driving by, but if you should come out of your car and look, you'll see those what we refer to as crocodile cracks. That crack is beside that area that was patched.
Okay.
Water seeps into that.
And leak under it again.
And it puffs back out.
I mean, because that area is newly done, it is more vulnerable.
Sometimes there is that. Other times, you may have a leak that is beneath the road, or you may have subsurface water, a storm water that is flowing beneath the surface of the road. So there are many different things that could have, or that can contribute to one having to fix a pothole 2 or 3 times.
But who tracks that budget
or
the operations to say we have fixed this pothole 60 times at a cost of X? We need to stop now and fix the underlying problem, because this is getting beyond the point at where patching it every 3 months is economically viable.
You know, again, we go back to the budget that we'll make for the fixing of roads. Now, if we put together a budget and we ask for, let us say, $100 million to resurface a road that has a good base, but then you're given, or the vote on that particular item is only $10 million. The only thing you can do is $10 million worth of work. So if that $10 million is really to patch an area to ensure that the road does not fall beyond a certain level, especially if it is being used, if it is being heavily used by traffic, then that is just what we have to do. So it is not something that the agency would want to do, but it is what we must, given the constraints that we are faced with on a daily basis.
Hold the thought, Stephen. When we come back, we want to talk to you about some of the extensive road work that's been going on for an extensive period of time across Kingston City. More after the break.
Internal audit. Internal audit service is vital when organizations aim to achieve reliable financial reports and regulatory compliance, navigating risks, streamlining operations, and promoting stakeholder confidence. The benefits of a high-quality internal audit are limitless, especially when you secure yours from a firm with deep industry experience, exposure to hundreds of organizations, dedicated professionals, and proven methodologies. Whether you're looking to establish an internal audit function, attain or maintain compliance with various regulations, mitigate your risk of fraud, or gain an overall assessment of your internal controls, you can count on Dodgen Global for reliable and timely business solutions. We've helped organizations nationwide and across industries to establish internal control structures, create an internal audit function, or improve an existing one, and maintain regulatory compliance. We provide ongoing education as regulations and public perceptions change. We are trusted advisors for management and boards. External auditors can be confident in our work and its results. Let Dodgen Global be a turnkey solution for your organization. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Welcome back to On Point. We're here speaking with Stephen Shaw, who is the manager for communications at NWA. You'd have noticed, everyone would have noticed about the roadworks that have been going on over the past year, Stephen? Or so, over a year
and a half.
Going
Yeah.
2 years, yes.
So I know that's what we want to start with.
We want to find out
what's happening with the road repairs.
We have made significant progress, and I can speak to start in the west, the road from Ferris to Markfield. If you have not been in the west in recent times, then I invite you to take a Sunday ride out that side. You'll be pleasantly surprised at the new road and the quality road that is there for persons to travel easier between Montego Bay and Savannah Lamar, Black River, and so on.
That's going over the hill?
No, it's actually when you reach the Ferris, traveling from the border of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Fonthill, White House, coming through Cave, all the way down. Yes, Belmont. Yeah, you take that right turn when you get at the gas station at Ferris, and it takes you to through Deans Valley, Withorn, Haddo, and those places heading towards Montego Bay.
And it's not just resurfacing of that road. That road is actually also being
reconstructed.
Yes.
Corners have been taken out, new alignment, as I said, new bit of road, wide, can accommodate the types of vehicles that are now using our roads.
Stephen, on that, the types of vehicles, because when you go to that, and in the past, one of the criticisms is that the contractors used to work on the roads, they never do it properly, because as soon as two heavy trucks drive on it, you have a problem. St. Thomas, for example.
And then they blame the trucks and say they're overloaded.
Yeah, okay, no. We do have a problem with overladen trucks. There is no getting around that. That has been scientifically proven. We have weighed, we have observed, and we know that there is a problem with our trucks being overweight.
And we do what about it? Because I've seen scales put on the side of the road.
From the standpoint of the National Works Agency, because remember, it's joint up government, our responsibility is to ensure that we design and build roads to accommodate the legal loads. Now, the legal load for, let us say, a 10-wheeler truck is 25 tons, including payload. In other words, truck and both chassis and load should not exceed 25 tons. Some trucks carry an extra axle, and that will account for an additional 5, so that truck can carry maybe 30.
Yes.
But what do we have? We have vehicles carrying upwards of 40 tons. And that not only does damage to the roads, but also to the very vehicles that they're driving. And the truth is, many of these operators, these drivers, they are aware of the fact that they're overloading. They're also aware of the penalties, but some of them are not aware of the potential damage, and not just potential, the actual damage that they're doing to their vehicles. And I have to know this.
This must be hard to enforce, though, Stephen. How do you look at a truck? How do you police this in a way to ensure that you catch the culprit?
We have, again, you're taking me outside of
the NWA's realm. Absolutely.
Right. But that is really for the Ministry of Transport to treat with. And I know that it is something that has received their attention and is receiving their attention through the way stations. The police have been working with the Island Traffic Authority, where they have mobile scales. I can't speak to, how frequent they do these spot checks, but I'm aware of the overall program.
And I just ask you because it's going to require a joint-up approach. It's going to require a multi-pronged effort because you have to deal with the consequences of an overladen truck. How do the various players come in and function to ensure that taxpayers don't have to fix another road because of a heavy truck?
And from our standpoint, what we're doing is that in designing these roads, we take into account the fact of the heavier vehicles, not just the vehicles plus the load, but the vehicles in and of themselves are bigger, heavier than those that would have been using our roads when these roads were designed.
I want to get back. Go ahead.
So that is part and parcel of the consideration when we design and build new roads.
Stephen, what does it do to your budget if you were to design for a 30-ton truck rather than a 40-ton truck? That's a significant increase in the budget, eh?
It is, because you have to now look at the amount of base that you're going to be putting on. You may have to, if the subgrade is not as solid as you would want it to be, you have to ensure that you get a very good subgrade, because a lot of times the failure is not just in the base, but the failure is deep
below it.
And so you have to then go in and you have to excavate, take out what we call the bad material, put in good material, compact, and then come up. So all of that we have to consider. If you for the base, sometimes, and we have used to good effect. For example, Marcus Garvey Drive, we did a stabilized base. This is where we actually mix the material, the fines, the stones, with cement, and we spread it, damp it a little bit, roll it, and so it's harder. It's like a concrete road almost when you're finished with that. But of course, there's that cost.
Absolutely. We've veered off a little bit, and I don't want us to not get the update on the big projects that are out there. We started in the west. I want to jump over to the east. 2 projects in particular. One junction, 2 that St. Thomas to Portland stretch.
All right. The junction road is continuing. We are at a point now where we are still excavating in an area that is exceedingly precarious. We have had to restrict the movement of vehicular traffic for every day as we continue with the extensive earth movement and also the blasting of huge rocks in that area near the Broadgate community. We expect that by the end of this month, we should be significantly there as it relates to completing the heavy lifting along that particular corridor. Subject, of course, to the weather allowing the contractor to do the kind of work that is necessary, because we have had some setbacks during this period when we have had the inclement weather.
People are most interested in the end dates. Inclement weather, setbacks, they want to know when will this be over.
And so we, I would say now we're just going into the second week of October. I would say, I can say a little bit more after the end of next week, when the contractor would have done quite a bit of work, and then we'll be in a position to assess where they are, what is left to be done as it relates to the heavy lifting. And so we'll be in a position to possibly speak to
some criticisms though about that particular leg.
Yes.
People are feeling like it's moving slower than certainly some of the other projects that we would have seen underway.
And it's not just a feeling, it is factual that it had been moving a little slowly. And we have had conversations with the contractor. We have actually...
Is this a local contractor?
It's a local contractor.
Yes.
And I think in recent weeks, they would have upped their game, and so we are seeing a bit more productivity.
I have to press you a little bit more on that, because people are making juxtapositions.
Yes.
Chinese work move fast. Local contractors are moving slower.
Yes.
And so the question is, one, does it have to be that way? And two, with all the roadworks that are happening with Chinese crews, is there no learnings that's happening on those projects that's being passed on to local contractors? Or if we want a fast road, we're going to always have to turn to the Chinese?
No, let me say, you're not comparing apples and apples here. You cannot compare a junction road with a Mandela Highway, Marcus Garvey Drive, Hackley Park Road, or a Constance Spring Road.
But you can compare it with a north-south.
But hold on. In the case of the north-south, I was not there. I cannot tell you what it is that they were actually doing, or they did. I don't know to what extent anywhere along the north-south where they had to do major cuts. They had traffic.
That took a very long time.
Traffic, meaning persons having to go along a road every day while they were doing that. For the most part, the Chinese would have been working in what we call virgin territory.
Yes.
They had no encounters with motorists or people.
Not having to open back the road at 3 o'clock and...
Exactly. So, those little nuances, persons would not necessarily understand. They didn't have houses close by, where in carrying out your activities, you have to be mindful that you don't do anything to compromise a structure or structures nearby. So, I'm not so sure that those comparisons are reasonable.
And the soil type is different too, eh?
All of that
very much different.
Yes.
Are we learning from the Chinese?
I am sure that learning would have taken place. I am absolutely sure. I mean, I recall, I tell this story of a young lady I met some years ago, no longer in Jamaica, mark you. She worked on the Rio Grande Bridge as a steel woman, I'm gonna call her that, tying those those rebars that weighed, I don't think the three of us can lift one. That's how heavy they are. And she was so good. She learned on this project, went to Westmoreland Bridge, which is also near the junction there, and she did that work. And I believe she was recruited, and she's in Canada, I'm told, when I inquired about her. Very good. She's just one of the many persons who would have learned on the job, and Jamaica, I think, is better for it, even though
I was going to celebrate for 2 seconds exactly, and then I hear that she gone to Canada.
No, but I mean, that opportunity to do so well and to make her life better came out of
and the hope
these projects
is that others have learned and stayed.
Many persons.
Stephen, one of the things I want to ask you though, I mean, we're happy for the roadworks, right?
Yes.
And particularly junction, I mean, I think that's a great improvement that's happening, right? But there was so much inconvenience. Couldn't it have been better organized? I think particularly about businesses that have suffered and have to close down because of the roadworks.
Well, let me lump up some others in that same question. Not just junction. Let's talk about Hagley Park. Let's talk about Constance Spring Road and those casualties of development.
Yes, in doing our own assessments, I think that there are things that could have been done differently. There are things that we will certainly take from our experiences on both projects. And I believe that the country will be in a position to judge us and see just how well or how badly we would have done, consequent on the experiences that we would have gained from the implementation of these projects.
You can't get the passing grade yet because motorists are still mourning. I hear people talk about their tires on Constant Spring Road, on sections of Marcus Garvey with exposed potholes.
No, not
potholes, not Marcus Garvey, on Hagley Park with exposed manhole covers, sharp edges.
And they're correct. But I tell you this, in the ensuing weeks, and I stand ready to be back here in a couple of programs where I'm sure the conversation is going to be much different, because at this point we are now putting on the second layer of asphalt on both Hagley Park Road and Constant Spring Road, where the manhole covers are going to be on par with those with the asphalt.
But if I leave here tonight and bust my tire on a manhole cover or hit up my undercarriage on one of those manhole covers, do I send Stephen Shaw and NWA the bill?
No, you send a bill to the contractor.
Which is who?
China Harbour.
Send the bill to China Harbour?
If you have a bill, send it to them.
But my view on it though, you know, my view on it though, is that, I mean, I see the potholes protruding. I don't think it can damage your undercarriage or anything, but people must drive carefully.
Dennis can say that because he drives a big van. For the people with the little vehicles that are close to the road, they have a different experience.
People must drive carefully. I mean, you're driving on a road and you see all of this thing. Take your time and drive.
And remember, it's a 25 km zone.
Yeah.
It's not even though you see blacktop, you see nice pavement, not finished, but people still treat it as an invitation to speed.
I get in the rap signal on the vein of not finished. When will all this, certainly within the KMTR, when will it be finished?
At the end of this month, I think we are going to be significantly there. We have a couple of things that must be done, and these are crucial. We want to ensure that all the new pipelines are tested, given the green light, and the old lines that continue to leak like a sieve, these are retired. Because, like you said earlier, or Dennis might have said it, doesn't make any sense we have a new road, and so often we have breaks in this old line, which is going to be causing problems for all and sundry. So we want to ensure that all the tests are done, new lines pass, cut over takes place, people are put on the new system, and we should be good.
Are we carrying these roadworks into 2020?
I believe, based on where we are now, and the fact I spoke to earlier of a defects liability period, from that standpoint, yes.
The only thing I would say, Stephen, is as we continue this well-needed work, we must ensure that there's as little disruption as possible to businesses, because it makes
too late for that. On that note, folks, we're going to have to wrap it. Stephen Shaw, we will call you back closer to 2020 to find out what's going on with the relationship between yourselves and the contractor and where we are with the work. Thanks for talking to us.
I'll be happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, folks. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, more On Point.
Taking the pain out of the audit preparation. Crow Jamaica now offers audit management services, AMS. With AMS, Crow team manages your external audit process by providing the following. 1. Prepare and review schedules for your external auditors. 2. Prepare responses to your external audit team queries. 3. Assign our team members to locate supporting documents during field work. 4. Draft financial statements in accordance with IFRS to supply to your external auditors. 5. Provide guidance to your internal accounting staff regarding classification and recording of transactions. 6. Review your general ledger for accuracy. 7. Prepare necessary journal entries. 8. Prepare fixed asset register. 9. Prepare accounting and operational manual for effective internal control. 10. Liaise with the company external auditors. We work with your team to achieve timely and effective external audits, resulting in timely completion of your audited financial statement, while your current staff focuses on their daily activities. Contact us, info@crowhorwath.com.jm. Website, www.crow.com/jm.
Welcome back to On Point. Extreme highs and lows for Jamaica at the recently concluded IAAF World Championships. We left the games with a proud 12-medal haul, our second highest ever since competing in the games. What did the numbers really look like for Jamaica? Take a look.
Jamaica's medal haul placed the country third on the overall table behind Kenya second and the USA on top. 43 countries won medals and athletes from 68 different nations achieved at least one top 8 placing. 209 of the 214 member federations of the IAAF participated in the 2019 Track and Field World Championships. 1,972 athletes entered the tournament, 1,054 men and 918 women. A total of 101 federations entered one athlete only. Jamaica entered 55, while the US had the largest contingent with 159 athletes. It was a championship of records. There were 3 world records, 6 championship records, 20 area records, and 80 national records.
And our On Point team hit the streets and asked, what's your take on Jamaica's recent performance at the just concluded IAAF World Champs?
I think they did quite well, because considering who went there, they did pretty well, and considering what happened before when they were really at the top of the game, they did pretty well, I think, especially the women and the field events. They did quite well.
I believe they have done very, very well, win or lose, and bring in Jamaica team, because the training that they're going through, I could not do it, and whether they made it or not, I think we all should appreciate them.
Well, we do great and excellent, and God bless them and keep them. Yeah, I'm happy for them. I'm really happy.
They did good. I'm happy and glad for their performance, you know? Yeah, so glad how they really go on, and the Chinese them drop them look button pan them look really about. They look blunder there, but the Jamaican them go on good so far, 100%. And you know, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce has been crowned the queen and the hottest woman in the world right now. That's a good thing. Nobody can take the title left on her again. She got on her road.
I was pleased. Wonderful. I mean, what more could I ask for? After Bolt, no people wasn't expecting would I get 12 medal. Really didn't matter the color, we still get gold. And that is wonderful. It goes well for the future. Come next year at the Olympic, I'm really looking forward to it.
Our overall performance, people say it's promising, but I think it's dwindling. I think we need a new crop of runners. We need to invest more. We should have been investing, but I think where we fall short was that we weren't preparing properly for Bolt's departure. And it's obvious they're trying to be optimistic in the media, saying that, you know, they did well and there's a bright future ahead, which I don't see, because I honestly believe that Shelly-Ann can't go any further.
I think we did very well, because you know, during the Usain Bolt era, people were thinking like, what is going to happen after? And so I think for what we did in both the track and the field events, I think that was very well done. I'm so happy for us.
I'm 36. I'm a husband, a manager, and still very good looking. In 2 hours, I have the most important meeting of my life. But first, it's time to play. The new Suzuki Vitara.
There is interesting discussion there not too long ago with Stephen Shaw. I appreciate the fact that he's always available to face the music. However, what he has to say sometimes isn't pleasant news for the people of Jamaica.
No, it isn't. But, you know, in talking to Mark Barnett, NWC, and other persons, you find that you appreciate the fact about the age of the infrastructure we have in the country. Pipes are over 50 years old. You know, talking to someone from KSAC, they said that the pipes are held together by the dirt because it's in place. And once you start pummeling a road, a new road, everything just goes. You know, it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be a lot of planning. It's not something that's overnight. It's going to be a lot of work also to get down there and correct everything. I was just talking to Mark Barnett today, and he's saying that people don't understand that when you put a new pipe in place, you have to not just lay it, but you have to flush it out, make sure everything runs, make sure it can take the pressure, because if you don't do all that preparatory thing, he said it can actually get you sick, the new pipes, if you don't flush it out properly.
Totally understood. With regards to the NWA and the work that they do, one of the fears is that 2 weeks of rain is act of God, and 2 weeks of rain could easily happen next month and the month after and the month after. And when you're talking about almost $600 million worth of rainfall in one financial year, you have no control over when it will rain, when it will rain heavy. You have no control. He said it since April. You don't know when hurricanes will come. You don't know when, because Jamaica has that old infrastructure, we don't need a hurricane or a storm for a road network to crumble. You need a little bit of rain.
Just a little bit. And then compound it with all of the fact now that people not disposing of the garbage properly. So everything blocked up, you know. It's just a huge problem, you know, the infrastructure, the indiscipline issue. So I understand what they're going through. My only thing with the roadworks is that it could have been organized in a better way so that it doesn't affect people's businesses. Because, I mean, it's one thing for them to say, well, we've learned, but the fact of the matter is that the people whose business have to close, they don't have a second chance.
Absolutely. Part of the legacy of the legacy roads is going to be the pain of progress. People are going to talk about the inconvenience, and I don't think any beautiful carpet, Barber green carpet, is going to undo in people's minds the kind of inconvenience, and for some businesses the actual financial loss that this would have cost
people
them.
Might have been mortgaging the houses and all of those things. So, you know, I personally, I know it started from when I was at the PSOG, and I used to say to the government, give these people a tax break. Exempt them once you're working on it, exempt them from taxation for the period that you're working on the roads.
Another point that I raised with Stephen that I really do take seriously is, whereas I don't have a difficulty with our dependence on a foreign nation state at start to be able to do some of these big projects, it can't redound only to the financial benefit of that foreign nation state. And it can't be that we only get roads. They've got to be something more. And so for me, the learnings about how to build a road quick and fast and well, that it will stand up to the test of time, has to be learnings that's passed on to Jamaican people, so that 10 years down the road when we have another big road project, we don't have to be running to the Chinese.
Yeah, the problem though, you know, is not just the learnings, you know, is that when the problem that Jamaican contractors have been faced with and had blighted the reputation of many good contractors is that a lot of them, because of political connections, and they're supposed to put on 2 layers of asphalt and they put on 1, right? And then the problem that Jamaican workers have had is that any little thing you carry in the union and you strike. You remember what Motti had said at the time, when the lady called and said, 1 Chinese, the 5 Jamaican work. You know, that's telling. And these are some of the issues that I think have plagued us.
Well, folks, we'll continue to deal with issues right here on Point. We thank you for joining us. Thanks also to the very hardworking crew that makes this show happen every single week. Until next time, I'm Patria K.
And I'm Dennis Sean.
Keep staying on point.
On Point was brought to you by Dargin Global.
We are back with another exciting, innovative, and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better